Alright, here we are again. Welcome to my channel. That's the first thing I wanted to say. Today I'm talking about Ninth Age. This is a battle report in the style of me doing battle reports. Because of the times I'm still doing Ninth Age battles on Universal Battler. Check it out if you want to play tabletop games and you can't meet in person. There's a pretty large community, at least for Ninth Age players, so check it out. Um, this battle is the first battle of a team tournament put on by the USA team players. Mostly, this is organized by Alex Schmid. Thank you for putting this together, Schmid. Uh, these are teams of 5, and Alex ran a couple of these last year as well. I think I participated in one or two. Then I took a break from them because I didn't really like team tournaments, and I wanted to play singles for a while, which I did do. And then this new year, I decided to jump back into it and try teams again now that I have a little bit better grasp of the game. So this is the first match, and I'm not going to tell you how we paired because I wasn't actually super involved in that, but I will tell you that we were glad I got this matchup because I had marked this as a green match for myself. Um, and I ended up getting it. So, but I was intimidated because IH Dark Lord is a very good player, and I had looked him up. He is one of the main players on the Belgium ETC team. So I knew that even though just comparing list to list, it was a good matchup for me. He's a much better player than me, and so I was a little nervous. Actually, I was pretty nervous. I do get nervous to just to play games. That's partly why I stepped back from team play games because I actually got nervous before them. I wasn't able to relax. So I wanted to play a lot of singles, learn how to relax and just have fun. And now I'm stepping back into some team. Anyway, this is my list I'm using for the team tournament. It's the same list I'm using in the Abraxas League. The mainstay of the list is that it has 90 flagellants. If you are an Empire player or you've seen other Empire players, you'll be like, where's the Steam Tank? I don't use a Steam Tank. Probably one of the only Empire players who doesn't use it. It's never really interested in me, I don't use it. So I'm using 90 flagellants, seeing how that works with the points changes. I took 2 cannons. Mostly I'm able to do this because this is a team tournament and I can actually get some pairings that are actually good for me. I wouldn't not really play this in a singles tournament. But in a team tournament, you can actually do some skewy lists, things like this. So I'm trying to take advantage of that. All right. You can look at the rest of my list if you want to. I'm not going to talk through it. This is IH Dark Lord's list. Undying Dynasties. Um, I've played a small skirmish battle with Undying Dynasties, so I'm somewhat familiar with their rules, and I have been collecting miniatures. I think I have around 5,000 points worth of miniatures, so maybe a little more than 5,000, maybe 6,000. I have enough to make a full army and a few extra models to have a little variation depending on what I want to build. But I haven't finished painting them or assembling them, so I haven't been playing them on Universal Battler, even though I could. But anyway, that aside, this is his list. Um, it's a very uncommon Undying Dynasties list build, and that is mostly because of the core section. What's missing? No chariots. No chariots for my man. And I think he did comment this is a very unusual list for him. I haven't seen what he normally plays, but I know this was something new he was trying, and he wasn't very happy with it. But that aside, he took 2 big blocks of skeleton cavalry, which I have actually considered doing before. So I was actually glad to see that someone else was trying them out. Um, he the other big difference is he took 2 big dread sphinxes, which are the monster hunter sphinxes. You don't see those very often. I've seen the other sphinxes, the battle sphinxes, more often. I very rarely see dread sphinxes. But again, just like my list, this type of list can actually do okay in a team tournament, where you can somewhat pair into matchups that are favorable, whereas in a singles tournament you can't. Um, Other things, they took the Casket of Fat Tap. That's also a little bit different, and not many players use it. Other than that, and he had a Pharaoh. I think Pharaohs aren't really used, but he did have double Death Cult Hierarch with one on Cosmo and one on Evo. And his no mark is the General, which is a little weird, but actually really smart, and just is a testament to how good of a player he is. I'm not going to talk through the rest of the list. You can look at it and look things up if you want. Alright, the scenario, the way it works in this team tournament, I don't know if this is how it works in other team tournaments. There's a everyone for each round, each team. No, I'm not phrasing this right. Okay. When you get paired up with another team, so this is round one. Alex designated which maps were going to be played in which matchup. So whatever the first matchup was between teams, so you have 5 different matchups in each round. And so there's a map assigned and an objective assigned to that. So I think I got paired up pretty near the bottom, either like matchup 4 or 5. And so I ended up on, actually happened to be map 8 again, which I just played recently. And this is Hold the Ground with Dawn Assault. So here's the map after deployment and after scout deployment. So uh, for the roll off, IH Dark Lord won the roll off, and he picked the top. Of course, because that forces me then to have this impassable in the middle of my deployment zone, which I had struggled with. I've struggled with this before. So he took the top, and I this time I deployed everything. So I dropped first, and it was tricky because I it was tricky because I have good answers for his Dread Sphinxes with the cannons and the Rangers, but it's hard when you have the bottom on this map to deploy in such a way that your cannons won't be obscured. So I was calculating, um, I'm trying to think. My thought was that he would actually try to deploy close to me, and try to get his Dread Sphinxes into combat so that I couldn't shoot him for very long with my cannons. So I had the bottom, and so I had to deploy in this way. I could have tried to squeeze everything between this impassable and the hill on the bottom, but I just have too much infantry. It just wasn't going to work. So I decided I'm just going to go left of the impassable, with the exception of the knights, because I thought to myself, well, what if, first of all, as you can see, I don't really have room for the knights on the left, although I could have moved spears back and put my knights in front so I could just ride out. But I decided, no, what's to stop him if I put everything left from just deploying? I don't know. I wanted to have some outflanking ability. So I did deploy my knights way out here. I also was considering putting a cannon on the hill. I was doing the measuring, and the Dread Sphinxes have a movement of 12. So okay, I had measured. I was like, okay, if he puts them over here, he can move 12. I can still shoot at him for a turn. With one cannon over here. I really wanted to put a cannon on the hill so that if he tried to hide behind this hill, I might still be able to see him with a cannon because he could hide easily from the cannon on the left. But I ended up just deciding I'm just going to put both cannons over here. There might have been a slightly better configuration for them, but it's really hard. So I dropped in this way, and this is the objective, of course. And then he deployed this way, which actually surprised me. I really expected him, and he played around with it. He was trying to deploy with the hill in mind, um, and everything, with the casket and the catapults. But then he ended up just shifting everything because I think he knew it was a bad matchup, and I think his strategy was to stay out of combat because his big thing was he needed to use his catapults and his shooting and his magic to whittle my flagellant units down because he couldn't take on any of my flagellant units until they were at least beneath 20 models. And realistically, well, yeah, he was talking about it. Yeah, at least probably 20 models. Even then, it's still not great for him. So that's why he deployed this way. All right. My thought process, I thought about putting other rangers over here. I really wanted my rangers to target the artillery, but I decided after seeing the way he deployed, I scouted with my rangers and I decided, I need I need my rangers to be able to shoot at the sphinxes. I thought about keeping them one unit back by my cannons because I was worried he does have two scorpions and they ambush from anywhere on the board. And I was worried about the scorpions, but I decided the sphinxes are a bigger threat and I need to be able to deal with them from the beginning. There's not a lot I can predict about where the scorpions will be. So I decided to put my rangers over here so that they could target his uh his sphinxes. So so anyway, because I dropped, I got to go first. So I pushed out like this. Um what am I doing on the right? I learned this game, and I'm actually really proud of myself for doing this. Like I was saying before, the Sphinxes can move 12. So I measured 12 out from them, and I figured out where they could land. And I figured if I move my Rangers in, he can't land there, which then forces them to stay within sight of my cannon. At least one cannon, maybe two. So that's why I pushed my Rangers up to the wall. I didn't necessarily need to move. I probably should have moved them like an inch further to the right, but it is what it is. I also moved my Knights in this way so that um, if he did try to outflank me or something, or land over here, basically I'm forcing him. He either has to stay back in the woods in line of sight of my cannons, or if he comes out into the open, my Knights can charge him. So that's what I'm trying to put him in a bit, just a kind of a bad situation with the Sphinxes, was my thought. After seeing the way he deployed, I decided I can move my flagellants forward. I, I don't know if I should have deployed him that way, um, but you never know what someone's going to do. So that was kind of a safe deployment, not knowing what he was going to do. Then seeing how he deployed, I figured I can move out. So I'm pushing out. I didn't move my spearmen, and that's partly an error. I was thinking about it, and then I just decided I'm taking too long. I'm gonna move on to magic. Um, but I was fine with it because again, I didn't know where the scorpions would pop, and I wanted to be able to protect my flank with my spears, so that if he put his scorpions on my flank, I could charge him with my spears. So that was my thought process there. Rangers, I almost put on top of the hill, so that I could shoot his casket, but then that just left him too much in charge range of his cav. So instead, I moved him down and actually tried to bait him, because I pushed forward everything here, my main line, and I decided I could move my rangers down, and if he does charge with the cav, I can stay, and then, or was I gonna flee? I was probably gonna stay so that he would end up here and within charge range. So that was that. This shows shooting already. You can see my Rangers had some good shots on the Cav. Nope, I'm gonna go back. What happened on the first turn? Magic wise, oh, actually, I think this is magic. So I got off. So good magic. I did not take Fireball. I took the 2, 3, 4, and 6 from Pyro. Um, right? I think I took Flaming Swords. So I was thinking about Fireball, but I think I decided I needed +1 to wound in case I did have to fight those Sphinxes in combat, because their resilience 8. But with +1 to wound, like everything I have would only wound him on 6s, but with +1 to wound from Flaming Swords, I would still wound him on a 5. But the other thought process was, well, doing the same thing with Rangers, casting Flaming Swords on Rangers. Anyway, so this is the results after the first turn of magic and shooting. You can see my cannons missed his sphinxes. and I only killed a few cav. Um, so it wasn't that great of a first turn for me. Then he goes. He chaffs with his. Well, first he actually charges. So the first thing he does, and this was real bad, he needed a 9 for his big cav unit to reach my rangers. He needed a 9, and he rolled like a 4. So he didn't go anywhere. He just went like an inch forward. Um, and that was really bad. So then he had to figure out, okay, now I need to block. He put his scouts forward to block my knights, because now my knights, if he hadn't done that, they're in position that I have the stalker standard on them. I can charge into the ruins, no problem. So my knights are here also threatening the center. He can't get near the center to score with my knights here. So he has to take care of my knights, right? Um, then he does his remaining moves. So he does shuffle his sphinxes over. He figures out how to get on my flank, but of course he is still in range of my cannons now in this position because I pushed my rangers forward and because his cav failed that charge. His cav failing that charge was really big, and that was turn 1. He shuffles over here because he needs to resurrect. He can't charge anything. He's on the hill now though, which pressures this flank. So I have to be a little careful how I move on this flank. Then he does magic. First spell, he does the bound spell from the Casket of Fat Tep, which, oh, I don't have the book handy. But anyway, Casket of Fat Tep, when it goes off, it's power level 6. So I only need 2 dice to dispel it, and I decide, you know what? I'm not going to dispel this. Because I had played a game a couple weeks ago where my opponent actually had 2 of them, and they didn't do anything the whole game. I always ruled under my leadership, and I was like, it's not that big of a deal. The way Casket of Fat Tep works, it's the bound spell, and I have to roll 3d6. And the um with 3d6, however many that totals over my leadership, I suffer that many AP10 hits. The discipline of my knights is an 8. I rolled a I thought I rolled a 14. I must have rolled a 15. Or no, I think it was anyway, it was either 14 or 15, and I lost 6 knights just from that bound spell. I think I rolled a 14. So I lost 6 knights from that. Boom. Um, they fled, but I rolled like triple ones. So it's like, of course, I rolled high on the damage part, and then I rolled really super low on the flee part because I suffered enough casualties. And then he shot at me, and he scored another wound. So I was really bummed at that point because I just lost um just so many knights from that bounce spell. Um, yeah, I think only let that bounce spell through if you have like a BSB or something, because otherwise, if they're casting that on a knight unit, that's real dangerous. So anyway, that was a mistake of mine. And now he just cleared up. Now he can approach the middle because he just dealt with the knights with that bounce spell. So now he can approach the middle. Good for him. What else does he do? He buffs his cav, and he does the enlarged version so he can bring back models that I had damaged with pyro. And then it's my turn. So what do? I have no charges because his they were too far away, and because my knights had fled, I couldn't charge anything. I did rally my knights, thankfully. I slid my rangers over out of line of sight of his sphinxes. And then I pushed up my flagellants, figuring if the sphinxes do come forward, my flagellants at least can pressure them, so they can't just get into the flank or rear of the main mass of my army. At least I have flagellants on this side, and I was really glad that I had them here. Instead of, I thought about putting them way on this flank to just push up, but they just move so slow. So that was movement. What do I have? Oh, shooting. Shooting! Cannon! This cannon got lucky, hit a sphinx, boom, rolled d3, rolled a 3 plus 1, and it died. seems like that's only 4 wounds, but um, and then my other cannon also hit this. Oh no, no, my other cannon missed. I think both of my cannons fired at the one in the woods and killed it. Because I only need to do, I think I get 4 wounds with one cannonball. So if the other cannon hits, it's dead, and it did. So I killed the one in the woods, and then my 20 rangers shot at the Sphinx and did 4 wounds. Because 20 rangers is 40 shots, and then after a hit, I need sixes to wound, but any sixes have lethal strike, so it doesn't get an armor save. So I ended up doing 4 wounds. So I'm feeling pretty good because both my cannons took out a Sphinx already, and I almost killed this Sphinx with my Rangers, which is exactly why I had put them here. Oops, let me go back. Magic wise, this is the turn. Okay, so this is turn 2. Magic wise, I had tried to cast. Now I'm trying to remember it. What spell was it? I tried to cast a spell with. It must have been 3 dice, and I needed like a 9. What did I try to cast? Now I forget. Maybe it was Stars Align. I think I needed like an 8 with stars. Oh, yeah, I was probably trying to put Stars Align on the cannon. This was before the. Sorry, I should have gone through magic before shooting. Um, with magic. Anyway, I failed to get it off, and so I lost 2 dice. And so then I took a risk because this was a low phase on dice for me. I took a risk and I threw, I think it was 4 dice at a spell, and I rolled a miscast, and he let it through. So my mage blew up. It just was erased from the board. I must have rolled 5 dice. And so my pyro adept blew up on turn 2. Um, it was either that, it was either throw 5 dice at the spell or basically end the magic phase because there wasn't. I was in a situation where it was like 5 to 5 or 5 to 6, and I think it was 5 to 6, and I wasn't gonna do anything. Like I figured I either roll 5 dice and hopefully push a spell through, and because maybe he'll fail with 6 dice, or I just stop the end the phase because I'm not gonna be able to win. So I took the risk, and my mage blew up. um, yeah. Then it's his turn. Okay, so on his turn, he tried to charge with his Cav again into my Rangers, okay? He failed. He needed an 8 this time, and he failed again. He was not happy, to say the least. These Cav had moved nowhere in 2 turns because of failed charges that he should have made, to be honest. He pushes the Sphinx forwards, probably because he figures he needs to move it out of cannon sight. So he moved it out of cannon sight. Where did my other screenshot go? That was my turn. Oh, I'm sorry, I must have missed a screenshot. Well, because you can see the way I'm moving. Um, so he, with spells and catapults, just decimated, and with his shooting, he just decimated this flagellant unit. So, um, he just tore it up, and I'm like, oof, I did not think that strength 3 shots and strength 3 was going to do that much to resilience 4, but he had enough shots that he did. So, yeah. So that was his turn, and he just pushes up. So now his archers can score the objective. But on my turn now, oh, and then he had put his scorpions down, and he rolled well. Well, he rolled like a 3 and a 4. So they did appear. His ambush appeared. So they ended up here. So if we go back to the previous screen, yeah, he did a lot of damage to this flagellant unit. Look, I have this is 20. I have 23, and on his turn he did 20 wounds to it. So he just decimated that unit. I thought about charging the scorpion, but I decided no, let's move up and block try to chaff his skeleton cav because I need to be able to keep something. I did charge a scorpion with this big block because I just need to get rid of it, and I figure I got 2 cannon shots. Maybe I can deal with it. Because he pushed up his archers to be in range of the objective, I now need to block that. I think he already did win an objective. Yeah, because at the end of last turn, he won the objective marker. So now he's up. That's what this star is. He won the objective marker on the bottom of his turn, too. So now I need to be a little bit more mindful of getting that objective. So I push my spears up, keeping him in my front so that he can't charge me in the flank. But he can, actually, and I get him out of sight of the scorpion. I then decide push my engine forward because now that my cannons can't shoot the Sphinx, I um I just want my art engine up here so I can try to cast Quicksilver Lash on it and see if I can get rid of it that way, or Quicksilver Lash on these cav here. So that's why I moved up in this way. My spears are protecting its flank, although technically the scorpion, I don't remember if I got it out of line of sight or not. I think the scorpion could hit me in the rear, so that was a little risky. That's my moves, basically. Magic. Now I have 3 spells, okay? I have Stars Align, I have Quicksilver Lash, and I have the bound spell Perception of Strength from the Arcane Engine because I blew up my wizard on turn 2. So what do I cast? I push through um, Quicksilver Lash on his Dread Sphinx. I don't remember if he actually I think he failed to dispel it because I know he wanted to. He failed to dispel it, and I was able to push it through, and that killed his Sphinx, which was good. And then I was able to, I had a free spell then I cast Perception of Strength on my spears, so that they're Strength 4, AP 3, just so that if he tries to charge me, I'm okay. I guess I didn't really need to move the Flagellants forward, but I wasn't sure what to do with them. They're just dying. Um, Combat-wise, oh, also with shooting, so this cannon misfired and couldn't fire for a turn, but the other cannon hit the scorpion and killed it. I must have rolled a 3 on D3, so that was also lucky because yeah, they have 4 wounds. So I killed that, and oh, that's how I got Quicksilver Lash off. Because I got a wound on my mage on the Arcane Engine. I got a wound because I miscast. Um, but so I rolled really high, and he couldn't he tried to dispel it, and he couldn't because I had 3 6s plus another die, and he couldn't dispel it. So I miscast, but I only got 1 wound, so that was lucky. All right, that was shooting. My archers aren't really doing anything over here at this point, but they were able to wound that Sphinx enough, so that was worth it. Combat, I put 2 wounds on the Scorpion. It's a push. We tied. uh, yeah, because I'm in line formation. So I charged and I did 2 wounds, so that's 3. Um, he did he, how many wounds did he? Oh, yeah, 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 because he did. My back row only has 6 in it, and he killed 3. So it's a push. Right. Then it's his turn. What does he do? He charges his cav into my Flagellants to finish him off. He maneuvers these cav in position to threaten the center. And I had miscalculated. I had thought his scouts were facing my Flagellants, and they weren't. They were facing my Rangers. So he charges his scouts into my Rangers. That's my bad. It's if you're playing with real miniatures on a table, it would have been obvious, but when you're playing online like this, sometimes it's hard to tell, and I just needed to zoom in, and I didn't. But anyway, so he charges them in the flank, which is he's basically going to be able to clear up my Rangers at this point. But if I figure that's not so bad, if he's using him to do that, he's not chaffing my Flagellants, and my Flagellants can now pressure the middle, which is what they need to do. So There's that. Magic-wise, I know I stopped the bounce spell again, but between magic and shooting, okay, yeah, so he got Unity and Divergence off on his big cav unit, so they now have a 5-up Aegis save, which means it just makes them more preservable. It's going to be hard to kill them. And then between all of his shooting, he killed my 3 knights. So now I'm still winning the objective, but he's going to be able to kill my flagellants and get into position to threaten the objective. So that's this turn. Oh, and of course over here, he's killing my rangers. And they break, and they flee, and then he reforms. So that he continues to chaff my flagellants. Like I said, he's a really great player. I never would have thought to do that. Luckily, I didn't run off the board, and luckily my other rangers didn't panic when the rangers ran through him. Alright. So now, in the combat, I kill off his scorpion with my attacks. He kills my flagellants, and did he overrun? Yeah, he overran. So he easily overran into my spears. After he... Oh, he killed... When did he kill them? And shooting. He must have hit him with a catapult. And he killed 5. Okay. So now I try to charge him. Yeah, I try to put the big flagellants into his flank. I hemmed and hawed a lot over whether or not to put my heavy infantry in his front, but I decided with the ranks bonus and the banner, it would be worth it because I could do extra wounds to him just from that alone. Plus, my general would be in base contact with 3 strength, 6 attacks, and that would help. I figure I could just wipe that unit out. Over here, I had to charge my flagellants into his scouts to get rid of him. The way he'd positioned it, I actually ended up like this, which was not how I envisioned it. Again, angles are really hard. Flagellants easily made it, but my parent unit, the heavy guard failed. The general's unit failed. I think I needed like a 8, and I rolled a 7. I know I was off by 1. I think that's what it was. So a lot of failed charges this game from both sides, but there you have it. Yeah. Then movement. I moved my arcane engine back out of there because figuring, well, oh, I know. I didn't want to get charged by these guys, and I also needed to make room for this support unit who is scoring to now score. So now I have 2 scoring units near the center. Now that was the other reason I want to charge my parent unit in so that I could have 3 scoring units, but I only got 2 in. Um, let's see. What happened in magic phase? I must have gotten perception of strength off again. I think nothing else must have gotten off. And then shooting, I was able to put a wound on his casket, but it's hard to wound that with basic shooting. And because of his cav and everything here, my cannons were never able to target the casket because the casket's standard height. I was able to target the catapults later on in the game. So anyway, combat. My flagellants and spears just blow up his unit, with the exception that it's now down to... He had the champion remaining, so he had 1 wound left. He had his champion remaining at the end of the turn. Of course, my flagellants kill his scouts and reposition to threaten the center now. My other rangers failed to rally and they ran off the board. All right. So his turn, what does he do? Well, he pulls back because he now is at the point where he's in point saving mode. He repositions. He thought about charging his cav. He thought really long and hard about trying to get his cav into my flank, or maybe even into this spear unit, but he decided it was a really long charge and he wasn't sure how much it would help. So instead, he tried to charge his pharaoh I think by himself, and it failed, and he ended up here, which is now in line with my flagellants. So he pulls his archers back. Um, Shooting. He shoots up my rangers. Um, yeah. Oh, and magic. So that must have been magic. I think I probably left. That was probably ice and fire he did to the rangers. Um, then he gets off spell, augment spell, and brings back some cav. Not a lot I could do. I stopped one of his spells. I knew I couldn't stop both, but I stopped the Unity and Divergence because I figured it was better to stop the protection spell versus his damage spell. So I knew he was going to damage me better with this spell, but whichever. And then he hits my parent unit again with the catapult. All right, combat phase. I just wipe out his unit. Of course, he only has 5 guys. Though, yeah. So my turn. My Flagellants charges Pharaoh, and that's it for charges. Okay, so they connect. I tried to position it so that if I did kill him, I thought if I could kill him, I could. If I kill him outright, I could overrun into his archers and just really substantially win the game with this. Someone will have to remind me. I didn't look it up. If you can actually overrun when you're fighting undead, I guess if you kill him outright from attacks and not from crumbling, you can overrun. I think is how it works. It's just a little bit complicated. I thought I did actually consider charging these Flagellants into the archers, but I decided that would be risky. Um, because if I fail, then I really chaff up my line. And at this point, I kind of realized I'm gonna win the game. I don't need to. I don't need to risk that on this turn at any rate. So instead, I do march them into the ruins just to pressure him from just moving further back. But I didn't. I was lucky with my dangerous terrain, and I didn't take any wounds. So remaining moves. Why did I not bring my parent unit up to score? Well, I'm winning the objective, so I don't I don't need to bring my parent unit up. I just need to keep them within 18. This is an 18-inch bubble, so everything here is within range of discipline, so that's fine. I was considering, I tried to hide the Arcane Engine behind the building because I knew he would try to hit it with his catapults, but I couldn't really get it out of sight because it only has a movement of 8. So I decided, instead of moving it out of sight, I'll just move it up so that I have a 6-inch aura on my front line. And now his casket is within range of Quicksilver Lash because I figure maybe I can kill the casket and get it to blow up and damage his own stuff, which was unsuccessful. I was able. It looks like I got Quicksilver Lash off. I think I was trying to put Stars Align on the Flagellants, and he dispelled that. So then I put Perception of Strength on the Flagellant. So now they're Strength 6. Cannons. Uh, one cannon misfired, but the other cannon was able to hit the catapult and did 4 wounds. So that was extremely lucky. And shooting, the rest of the game, these rangers just don't do anything because I keep trying. I don't shoot at the scouts or the the cav because the cav have a 4-up armor save, so I figure it's not really worth it. Maybe it would have been worth it. Instead, I try to shoot the catapults because they're the biggest threat on the board right now to me. But I'm just not able to hit and wound it because they have hard cover from the cav. It's not great. So anyway, I deal 3 wounds to the Pharaoh, but I can't kill it. And there's no crumbling because it's a push. Because he did 4 wounds to me. So instead, I let him reform first, so he slides over like this. So I slide over like that. I don't know if that was his objective or not. And then we get to his turn. So now we're actually tied up because I had won the objective on that turn, or on the sorry, turn the previous turn. It's now the bottom of his turn, so he figures out if he does a reform, he can get his scouts within. He's trying to get his cav within 6 so that he can deny objective. Because again, I only have 2 scoring units here. With his archers and his cav, he can try to deny objective this turn. Then he buffs his archers. He must have then shot his archers and used magic to try to take out the spearmen here. That's about it. I was successful in killing his pharaoh, although he did debuff me. He cast the #1 spell from Cosmology and reduced my offense to a 1. So I was only hitting him on 5s. But I just have enough guys there. I'm able to kill off his pharaoh. So then it gets to, and he was not able to eliminate my 2 scoring units. So all he did is he denied me from scoring this turn, right? So he won objective on turn 2. Turn 3 we tied. Turn 4 I won. Turn 5 he denies me objective. And then we get to turn 6. I am able to charge him in the flank now with my flagellants. I do risk charging in the ruins here. With really no major consequences. So, and then I move up my Arcane Engine so that I now have all 3 of the remaining scoring units within 6 of the objective, so that I have pretty much no matter, well, not no matter what. At this point, if he kills the spearmen, if I don't kill his archers and don't kill his cav, and he succeeds in killing the spearmen, it's a draw on objective for the whole game. So that's why I had to pull my parent unit up. And let's see, my remaining cannon was able to hit and finish off his catapult. I think I finally did get a wound on it with the archer rangers. So I was able to do that, which helped a lot. Magic. Where did I have perception of strength? I don't remember. It looks like I cast it actually as a debuff. I debuffed his archers, I think. But with combat, I was able to finish off both of his units. Yeah, that was... So on my turn, I killed his catapult. I wasn't able to completely eliminate either unit, but so then it goes to the bottom of his turn. It goes to his turn. He tried really hard with his remaining catapult to kill and cause one of my units to break, and it didn't work. And then I killed both of his units in combat, and that gave me the last objective. So now I won objective, and that was it. I wasn't able to do anything else because that was the end of the game. It's a 16-4 win because I won objective, so it was 13-7 with points, and then it was 16-4 with objective. So, any closing thoughts? I'm trying to think. I really was kicking myself the whole game for not blocking that bounce spell at the beginning of the game with the casket on my knights. Because if I had had my knights the whole game pressuring the center, that would have played out a lot differently. But him failing those 2 cav charges on my rangers early on was real big for him, though. My cannons are... He said after the game, or at the end of the game, when I took out his catapult with my cannon, he said my cannons were laser guided, which seemed like it because I was able to just hit a lot of stuff. Yeah. Finally, my army faced a list that it was able to do well against. And that's about all I have to say. Thanks for watching. If you Hope that you'll stay and check out more of my videos. I do have some more Ninth Age games coming up this weekend. One for the Abraxas League and one for this team tournament. So look for those in the next week or so. And thanks again for watching. Remember to be the player that somebody wants to play again.